Welcome back to Filmonomics as Slated. I'm Steph Paterno, and we are back again with Sunrise, the indie hit that is on the International Film Festival circuit right now. We learned when we spoke with the director and producer about how vital crowdfunding and equity-based platforms were for fundraising, industry introductions, and amazingly enough, fan and industry engagement. Now, let's go back and hear from Partho and Srihari, the director and producer. I asked them, of course, a loaded question. Of the four major pain points that Slated has identified: finding projects, attracting talent, securing financing, and obtaining sales, which was the most challenging for them? The answer actually surprised me. Let's go hear what they had to say.
I think sales for me is the hardest. Yeah. I think the sales is because with funding and the other ones, they're kind of static. This, it's to fund a film is to fund a film. Okay. Ways of funding a film may change, but you know how that works. Sales changes all the time. It's very fluid. People's tastes change. Suddenly they want this, suddenly they want that. So you can't really make an algorithm for sales. So yeah. So coming back to your questions, I think the three are easy. They stay fixed. The sales part is just you have to find some way out of that one.
Sure, how would you rank the four?
It's the same for me. Sales is the toughest. Creating taste for an audience is always difficult. You can't force someone to like a film, which normally they would not like it. So sales is the toughest part.
I wish that that salespeople would be less conservative in their choices. And that's something that I really wish, and I think that's something that's changed in time. They blame the market, but I don't blame the market. I blame them, because I think what has happened is that I came to Busan for the first time with my first film. So it was 2001 or 2002, and this used to be very small. The whole thing was run in Paradise Hotel, and the market was here and everything was here. It was great because we used to all kind of move around, go drinking together in the evening. We'd all meet for breakfast, and the same guys, the same sales guys and all that, got rich with a lot of Asian films. They got rich with Asian films, and they were just, simple guys once upon a time. And I think that they've kind of fixed their market, and they don't want to move. They don't want to change how things work. They've become conservative with time. And they weren't conservative with their tastes once upon a time. I mean, I know people, I'm not going to name them, but I know people who in Cannes would, boo someone else's film, and, they would do all these kind of, very, very naughty things to make films work, which I find interesting because, after all, what are we? We're just musicians and dancers, and we are, circus people. And making it so, I get the feeling that it's become less circus-like. It's more like people trying to make it more like a company, like a huge ship that runs perfectly well. But it cannot, because it's just made up of people who have crazy ideas, who make crazy things. So why aren't there crazy people on the other side too?
I think producers, investors, and filmmakers are always taking risks, and I think sales companies need to start doing that a little bit more.
They used to once upon a time. They did once upon a time. I remember in the 90s, and they had crazy films coming out. Like you said, wow, this is fantastic, and we rarely see that these days because they don't allow it. And I think that's a problem. I think maybe there's a new crop of sales guys who are going to appear. I mean, it always happens. Every system dies and there's a new system that's born. And I hope that happens.
Right.
Clearly in this situation, and in the case of many filmmakers who've gotten their film all the way to an international film festival, getting it sold is it's the final stop. And it's the hardest. You've got to convince the buyers to get on board. And sometimes buyers are very conservative and risk-averse, and they're looking for signals from the audience, how they react, from fellow distributors, from reviews, what are people saying. In this case, though, for Sunrise, with the glowing review that they got, I don't doubt that they will get the film sold. I saw the film. It is absolutely gripping, and there's no question it will find its audience if the right distributor steps up, which I'm sure they will. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week. However, in that next interview, we will be looking at a fascinating film, which I've mentioned before, called Duktar, which is Urdu for daughter. And this is a film produced by Srihari, yes, the prolific Srihari, who has produced, invested in, and is even directing his own films. And this film is a US, Pakistani, India, Norwegian co-production, which is absolutely incredible unto itself, but on top of which they just made it as a finalist for the official Oscar or Academy Awards consideration for international films on behalf of Pakistan. So as that official selection, that's just absolutely amazing. Even if they didn't make it into the Academy Awards, this is as good as a nomination. So I look forward to sharing that with you. Don't forget to, well, you know what to do. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.